The first thing you should know is that I was born into a beautiful cage. The Kensington estate wasn't a home. It was a statement. 10 acres of manicured Connecticut misery, all white columns and silent hallways, smelling of lemon polish and repressed emotion. My family, the Ashworths, were old money with new money problems, which is to say we had all the dysfunction but with better silverware. My role in the family ecosystem was simple. I was atmosphere. Background foliage. The quiet, unremarkable daughter who existed to complete the family portrait for charity galas and Christmas cards. My older brother, Julian, was the heir. Chiseled, charismatic, already being groomed to take over father's venture capital firm. My younger sister, Chloe, was the sparkle. A budding Instagram influencer at 19, all perfect curls and calculated pouts, our mother's favorite project. And me? I was Lena, the reader. The one who preferred the library to the pool house, who painted watercolors that no one hung, who had a degree in art history I never used because, as mother put it, it's a lovely hobby, dear, but let's be practical. Practical meant staying close to home, handling the softer, family responsibilities, planning mother's charity luncheons, managing the household staff, being a perpetual +1 at events where I'd smile and nod and feel the weight of my pearl necklace like a collar. I was turning 27. My birthday dinner was to be a small, elegant affair in the formal dining room. Just family, which meant it would be a performance. You'll wear the blue silk, Lena, mother said that morning, not looking up from her tablet as she scanned the seating chart for next week's gala. The one from Valentino. It compliments your eyes. What she meant was it was expensive and photographed well. My actual preference, soft linen pants and a cozy sweater, was irrelevant. Yes, mother. Julian is bringing his new girlfriend. Alessandra. Be kind. She's from the Denver shipping family. Translation, she's important. Impress her. Chloe flounced into the morning room, already filming a Get Ready With Me, Family Dinner Edition TikTok. Ugh, Lena, you're not wearing that to breakfast, are you? The lighting in here is terrible for your skin tone. I looked down at my worn yellow sweatshirt and jeans. It's just breakfast, Chloe. Nothing is just anything, she chirped, a perfect parrot of our mother. Image is continuity. I escaped to my one sanctuary, the third-floor library, a cavernous room lined with books no one read. My great-grandfather had collected them by the yard for the leather bindings. I was searching for a specific volume of Keats when I heard the voices. Raised, but not shouting. Sharp, coming from father's study directly below. The old heating grate in the corner was a relic, a mouth of ornate brass that funneled sound straight up from his desk. I shouldn't have listened, but the tone was all wrong. This wasn't father's usual bored monotone or Julian's confident baritone. This was strident, anxious, not sustainable, David. Julian's voice, strained. The quarterly reports are a house of cards. If the Kensington deal falls through, it won't fall through. Father, cutting him off. We have assurances. Assurances from a man who is currently under investigation. We need liquidity. We need a buffer. The line of credit is stretched, and the trustees for grandfather's estate are getting nervous. A long pause. I held my breath, a forgotten book cold in my hands. There is the Lena account. My own name dropped into the conversation, felt like a physical blow. I sank to the floor by the grate. The trust? You can't be serious. That's her inheritance. Her only one. It's not an inheritance, Julian. Father's voice was cold, clinical. It's a maintenance fund, and it's overly flush for its purpose. We can borrow against it. Quietly. She'll never know. Ice water flooded my veins. A maintenance fund. Not an inheritance. But the terms. Julian sounded uneasy, not moral, but cautious. The terms state it's for her care and benefit until she's 35, at which point the principal is to be released to her. But the trustees, that's you and me, son, have sole discretion over what constitutes benefit. We can argue that the stability of the family estate is to her benefit. Keeping the Ashworth name intact benefits her. We move the funds, shore up the Kensington position, and return the capital before she's 35. She's simple. She doesn't check statements. She just uses the monthly allowance. I felt the world warp. The Lena account. My trust. The one grandfather Ashworth had left me. The one that paid for my education, my car, the monthly deposit that allowed me to live without a vulgar job, as mother called it. The capital I was supposed to receive at 35, my chance, however small, at some kind of independence. They saw it as a slush fund. They saw me as simple. And if the Kensington deal goes south anyway? Julian asked, his voice lower. Then we restructure. The trust documents are flexible. We can extend the release date indefinitely, if necessary, for her own good. Lena isn't like you, Julian. She's not built for the real world. She's delicate. She's better off here, where we can look after her. The money is safer with us, managing it. Delicate. Not built for the real world. Better off here. Every patronizing pat on the head, every dismissed dream, every time they gently steered me away from an apartment in the city, a job offer, a relationship they deemed unworthy. It all crystallized into a single, horrifying truth. They weren't protecting me. They were curating me, keeping me placid, dependent, and above all, controlled. My trust fund wasn't my future. It was my leash. I heard chairs scrape. The conversation was moving to logistics, amounts, numbers that meant nothing and everything. I crawled away from the grate, my limbs numb. I made it to my bedroom, a beautiful, cold suite decorated by mother in tasteful Greggs, before the shaking started. It began in my hands, a fine tremor, then seized my whole body. I didn't cry. I stared at my reflection in the beveled mirror of my vanity. Lena Ashworth, the quiet daughter, the simple daughter, the ghost. The betrayal was so absolute, so surgical in its precision, it left no room for immediate rage. That would come later. First, there was just the vast, empty silence of a foundational lie exposed. My whole life, my sense of place, however uncomfortable, had been a set piece. I was a pet in a palace. The birthday dinner was a special kind of hell. I wore the blue silk. It felt like a costume. Julian brought Alessandra, who was glossy and sharp as a new scalpel. Chloe held court, complaining about a photographer who had used unflattering angles. Mother beamed, the perfect matriarch. Father carved the beef Wellington with patriarchal solemnity. To Lena, Julian said, raising his glass of 95 Bordeaux. His eyes met mine. Was there a flicker of guilt? Or just the usual benign neglect? May your 27th year be as graceful as you are. A toast to my docility. I smiled, the muscles of my face obeying decades of training. Thank you. The conversation swirled around me. The Kensington deal, my skin prickled, market volatility, the upcoming gala. I was a spectator in my own life. I watched them, these strangers who shared my DNA. My father, a man who saw people as assets and liabilities. My mother, for whom love was a performance of aesthetics. My brother, who had just agreed to potentially bankrupt my future to save his own. My sister, a hollow product of the same system, too self-obsessed to see her own cage. As dessert was served, a vision flashed before me. Me, at 35, being gently told by Julian that the trustees had decided, for my own good, to extend the terms of my trust. That the market was volatile. That I was better off here, in my beautiful room, with my allowance. Forever the ghost. Forever the child. The fear that vision induced was more powerful than any hurt. It was existential. It broke the spell. That night, while the house slept, I became a spy in my own home. I went to Father's study. The door was locked, but I knew where the spare key was, inside the hollow replica of a Greek vase Mother thought was decorative. I was good at noticing things people thought I didn't. I was invisible, remember? The desk was a monument to order. I found the file quickly, in a drawer labeled LE. Not with the important financials. With the ephemera. Lena, educational/trust. My hands were steady now, cold and precise. I photographed every page with my phone. The trust deed. The statements. The trustee meeting notes in Father's tight script. Phrases leapt out. L's lack of financial acumen. Benefit tied to family stability. Discretionary powers are broad. I took it all. Then, I went to the one place they'd never think to look, the caretaker's cottage. Old Joe, the groundskeeper, had been there since before I was born. He was the one who'd taught me the names of the trees, who'd fixed my bike, who'd given me a cup of hot cocoa in his cramped, warm kitchen when I'd hidden there as a child. He was the only person on the estate who ever looked at me and saw Lena, not an Ashworth. I knocked softly. He opened the door, roomy eyes widening in surprise. Miss Lena? Everything all right? Joe, I need a favor. A big one. And you can never tell anyone. He saw my face, the documents clutched in my hand. He didn't ask questions. He just nodded and let me in. The next morning, I performed normalcy. I breakfasted. I discussed flower arrangements with mother. I accepted birthday calls from distant aunts. Inside, I was a coiled spring. My first call, from a payphone in town, was to a law firm in Boston, one with a reputation for aggressive fiduciary litigation. I spoke to a sharp-voiced woman named Miranda Croft. I gave her the broad strokes. She listened without interruption. "You need to get out of that house, Miss Ashworth," she said finally. "Today. And you need to secure the original documents. I have copies. Photos. Not good enough. We need the originals to establish chain of custody. Can you get them?" "I can." "Then do it. Then leave. Go somewhere they wouldn't think to look. Don't use your cards. Don't use your phone. I'll email you a list of instructions from a secure server. Use the library computer. We'll move for an emergency injunction and temporary restraining order against the trustees tomorrow." The plan was terrifying. It meant burning my life to the ground. But my life was a beautiful fiction. The real terror was staying. I waited until the household was at its peak of distraction. Mother and Chloe were in the city for a fitting. Father and Julian were at the club for a critical lunch meeting. I walked into Father's study like I owned it. I took the entire Lena file. I went to my room and packed a single, large backpack with things that mattered. My passport, the small portfolio of my best watercolors, the locket my grandmother had given me, the only family heirloom that felt given with love, practical clothes, my laptop. I left behind the jewelry, the silk, the trappings of Lena Ashworth. I left a note on my pillow. It said only, "I know about the trust. Do not try to find me." Then I walked out. Not out the front door, but through the kitchen gardens, past the greenhouses, to where Joe was waiting in his old, nondescript pickup truck. He didn't say a word as he drove me to the bus station in the next town over. As I got out, he handed me a thick envelope. "A little something. For a rainy day. You take care of yourself, Lena. Really see the world." Inside was $5,000 in cash. His life savings. I tried to refuse, tears finally springing to my eyes. He closed my hand around it. "Go on. Be free." The bus ride to nowhere was the most liberating experience of my life. I got off in a small, gritty city in Massachusetts, checked into a motel that took cash under a false name, and followed Miranda Croft's instructions. The next 48 hours were a blur of clandestine library computer sessions, scanned documents, hushed phone calls from a burner phone, and overwhelming, soul-crushing fear. I jumped at every sound. I saw my father's face in every passing stranger. The legal machinery, fueled by Miranda's ferocity and the blatant breach of fiduciary duty in the documents, ground into motion. The emergency injunction was granted, freezing the trust assets and removing my father and brother as trustees, pending a full hearing. A process server delivered the papers to the Kensington estate. My burner phone exploded with calls from numbers I knew by heart. I never answered. Texts poured in, an evolving tapestry of family drama. "Mother, Lena, this is insane. Come home immediately. We can talk about this like a family. You're humiliating us. Julian, you've made a huge mistake. You don't understand the complexities. You're going to ruin everything. Father, call me. Now. This is beyond childish. You are not equipped to handle this. Chloe, OMG Lena, WTF did you do? Dad is literally breaking things. This is so messed up." Then, the tone shifted as they realized I was gone, and a lawyer was involved. "Mother, darling, please. We're worried sick. Where are you? Are you safe? We only ever wanted what was best for you. Julian, Alessandra's family, is asking questions. The Kensington deal is jeopardized. Think of the family, Lena. Think of the employees who depend on us. Father, you are making a catastrophic error. That money will be gone in a year with your naivete. We are your family. We protect you." I read them all. I deleted them all. Their words had lost all power. They were just noise from the cage I'd escaped. Miranda secured a modest, court-approved monthly stipend from the Frozen Trust for my living expenses. It was enough for a tiny studio apartment, groceries, and art supplies. I got a job. Not a career, but a job. I worked as a barista in a noisy, independent coffee shop. The first time I made a latte, and a tired student smiled and said, "Thanks, Lena." I almost wept. It was my name, stripped of Ashworth, given in simple thanks for a service rendered. It was the most honest transaction of my life. The legal battle was long and ugly. My family fought dirty. They hired a team of lawyers who painted me as an unstable, impressionable young woman, manipulated by a predatory attorney, unfit to manage my own affairs. They brought up my anxiety as a teenager, conveniently omitting it was caused by living in their emotional icebox, my lack of direction, my history of dependency. But they had underestimated the ghost. The ghost had been listening. The ghost had the documents. And the ghost, with Miranda's help, had the truth. The smoking gun was in Father's own notes. A memo about using the trust as collateral for the Kensington deal, with the phrase risk to L's principal acceptable given family imperative. The judge, a stern woman with no patience for patrician bullshit, was not amused. The settlement was finalized on a rainy Tuesday, 8 months after I'd fled. My father and brother were permanently removed as trustees. An independent fiduciary was appointed. The trust's assets were intact and would be released to me in full on my 35th birthday, as originally intended. I received a formal apology, dictated by their lawyers, that tasted of ash and legal coercion. There was no dramatic courtroom victory, no tearful reunion. Just paperwork and a profound, resounding silence from Connecticut. I didn't go back for my things. What was theirs. I bought my clothes from thrift stores, my furniture from IKEA. I painted my studio apartment a defiant, sunny yellow. I started selling my watercolors online, small studies of everyday things, a chipped mug, a view from my fire escape, the tired face of the old man who ran the bodega downstairs. They weren't masterpieces, but they were mine. They sold slowly, but they sold. A year to the day after I left, a package arrived at my P.O. box. No return address. Inside was my grandmother's locket, the one I'd deliberately left behind, and a single sheet of my mother's monogrammed stationery. It held one line, in her flawless script. I hope you are happy. Not I love you. Not I'm sorry. Just an acknowledgement that my happiness was now a separate variable, outside her equation. It was the closest I would ever get to closure. I am 29 now. I still work at the coffee shop sometimes, though my online art sales are growing. I have friends who know my real name, but not my past. I have a boyfriend, a graphic designer who loves my weird, detailed paintings of boring stuff. He thinks my family are distant, estranged academics. I let him think that. Some nights, I still dream of the mansion, of the silence, of the feeling of being made of glass. But then I wake up in my yellow room, to the sound of city traffic and the smell of my own cheap coffee, and the relief is so profound it aches. They thought I was simple. They thought I was delicate. They thought the world would break me. But the world they built was the thing that was meant to break me. The real world, with its struggles, its rude noises, its beautiful, messy, uncurated life, that was what saved me. My trust fund is still there, waiting. But I don't wait for it anymore. My freedom wasn't in that money. It was in the walking away. It was in the grit of coffee grounds under my nails, the triumph of a paid rent check from my own earnings, the solid, unshakable knowledge that I am not an accessory. I am not a ghost. I am not simple. I am Lena, and I am built for this world. I built myself for it. One shattered illusion, one hard truth, one brave step at a time. The cage is open, and I am never, ever going back.